Pisces, welcome to your weekly horoscope for April 27th to May 3rd, 2026. My name's Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer. Pisces, this week is about expansion, but not the kind that feels easy or immediate. This is the kind of growth that asks you to release control, to trust the unknown, and to step into a version of yourself that sees life from a completely different perspective. Because what's unfolding now is a shift in your beliefs, your direction, and the way you understand your path. Now, on April 29th, we have Venus in Gemini forming a trine to Pluto in Aquarius. This is activating your fourth house of home, family, and emotional foundation, and your 12th house of the subconscious healing and hidden patterns. This is deep internal work. This is emotional clarity. This is you understanding something about your past, your family dynamics, or your inner world that shifts how you feel in the present. You may have a realization that brings healing or a conversation that opens the door to deeper understanding. This is where you release what's been hidden. This is where you begin to feel lighter. But you do have to be careful of avoidance, staying in emotional patterns because they feel familiar, or trying to suppress what's coming up instead of processing it. You cannot heal what you ignore. This is your moment to sit with it and allow transformation to happen from within. Then we get to April 29th, and we have Venus in Gemini forming a T-square to the lunar nodes. You have the South Node in your seventh house of relationships and partnerships, and the North Node in your first house of identity and self. This is a karmic crossroads between who you are and who you've been in relationships. Something is showing up to your awareness. This is you recognizing where you may have been overgiving, overcompromising, or losing yourself in connections that don't fully reflect who you are becoming. The North Node is calling you back to yourself, to your identity, to your independence, to your truth. Now, you do have to watch for holding on to relationships out of fear, prioritizing others' needs over your own, and avoiding the discomfort of standing on your own. You need to ask yourself, am I showing up as myself or as who others need me to be? Because your growth requires authenticity. Then we get to May 1st, and this is the emotional peak of the week because we have the full moon in Scorpio. This is activating your ninth house of expansion, belief systems, travel, and higher perspective. This is a culmination in your understanding of life. This is you seeing the bigger picture, having a realization that shifts your perspective, or feeling ready to move in a new direction that aligns with your truth. This is awakening. However, you do have to watch for confusion or feeling overwhelmed by change, or even questioning everything without grounding. You may feel like your beliefs are shifting, and they are, but this is not about losing your direction. This is about finding a direction that's more aligned. Now, also on the same day, we have Venus in your fourth house forming a sextile to Saturn in your second house of money, self worth, and stability. This is grounding your emotional world with your practical stability. This is security. This is you creating a sense of stability within yourself, your home, and your finances. This is emotional maturity that supports your ability to build something lasting. This is where things begin to feel more stable. But you do have to be careful of holding on to comfort at the expense of growth. Avoiding necessary change because it feels uncertain. You need both stability and expansion because one without the other will not sustain you. Then we get to May 2nd, and we have Mercury entering Taurus. This is activating your third house of communication, mindset, and daily interactions. This is a shift into clarity. After a week of emotional depth and perspective shifts, this is where you begin to think more clearly, communicate more intentionally, and ground your ideas. You begin to focus a lot more at this point. This is you organizing your thoughts, having meaningful conversations, and expressing yourself in a way that is calm and aligned. This is where your voice stabilizes. But you do have to be careful of stubborn thinking or holding on to ideas without being open to new perspectives. You need to stay grounded but flexible because your growth is still unfolding. Pisces, this week is about identity, belief, and emotional healing. You are being asked to release what no longer is aligned, especially in your relationships and your inner world, and to step into a more authentic version of yourself. And that requires courage because becoming who you are meant to be often requires letting go of who you've been. Pisces, this week isn't just about change, it's about awakening to your truth.